they said Ethiopia's rise would be welcomed. They lied. From the glittering steel of Addis Ababa's new skyline to the dust-choked battlefields of the Sahel, a quiet alliance is taking shape, one that makes boardrooms in Paris, London, and Washington uneasy. This is not just about GDP growth. This is about rewriting the rules of power in Africa. In 2025, Ethiopia shattered expectations with 8.4% growth, record-breaking exports, and 15 mega-projects that defy the old dependency playbook. But while cranes lift steel in the east, in the west, Ibrahim Traoré and the AES stand their ground, pushing back against centuries-old chains. Together, they form two ends of the same spear, one built with concrete and turbines, the other with defiance and unity. The question is no longer if someone will try to stop this, but who will make the first move. And when they do, will Africa's rising giants stand alone or stand as one? By mid-2025, Ethiopia had already surpassed its ambitious 8.4% growth target. Wheat and coffee exports shattered records, gold revenue surged, and total exports climbed past $8 billion. The nation launched its first stock exchange in half a century, lit millions of homes with the Grand Renaissance Dam, and unveiled projects that could rival any on the continent. Yet beyond these headlines, there's another current flowing, one that connects Addis Ababa to Ouagadougou, Bamako, and Niamey. In the west, the AES holds its line against the old order. In the east, Ethiopia builds the new. And the line between them is beginning to disappear. Addis Ababa no longer wakes to the sound of silence. It wakes to the hum of cranes, the strike of hammers, and the steady rise of a city remaking itself. For Ethiopia, this is not cosmetic change, it is a restructuring of identity, economy, and place in the world. And nowhere is this more evident than in its first wave of mega projects. The Addis International Convention Center stands as a declaration in glass and steel. Spanning 40 hectares, it holds two colossal halls accommodating up to 4,000 guests each, 8 adaptable meeting rooms, and open-air grounds for 50,000 people. Flanked by 2 on-site hotels with 1,000 beds, shopping malls, cafes, and parking for 2,000 cars, it is designed to compete with the world's top event venues. For decades, Ethiopia hosted diplomacy in borrowed or outdated halls. Now, it can welcome the world on equal footing. Far from the capital's noise, on the tranquil shores of Lake Basaka, Benuna village has turned volcanic wasteland into a thriving ecotourism hub. Rows of fruit orchards feed a network of villas, including 10 presidential suites. Guests can move from hot springs to sports courts, from farm-to-table dining to national park excursions. This is more than a tourist resort, it is a sustainable economy in miniature, proving that Ethiopia can grow prosperity from the soil up. In January 2025, Ethiopia took another leap forward by launching the Ethiopian Securities Exchange ESX, its first stock exchange in over half a century. Built as a public-private partnership, the ESX aims to list 90 companies in its first decade, trading in equities, bonds, and other instruments. Major banks have already committed. This is not merely financial modernization, it is the creation of an indigenous capital market, where Ethiopian businesses can access Ethiopian and regional investors without detouring through foreign exchanges. The Addis Ababa Stadium project tells a different story, one of resilience. Initially launched in 2016, the 60,000-seat stadium stalled under the weight of delays, funding shortages, and contractor disputes. In 2025, a new $137 million agreement revived it. Built to meet FIFA, CAF, and World Athletics standards, it will not just host the 2029 African Cup of Nations, it will also reshape Addis Ababa's urban profile and inject life into the city's sports and cultural scene. Completing this first wave is the Ethiopia Quality Village, a 7.2-hectare campus housing more than 150 laboratories, uniting national institutions for standards, metrology, and accreditation under one roof. Here, products are tested, certified, and stamped, made in Ethiopia, without leaving the country. Over 500 organizations have already been certified, and 23,000 professionals trained. This facility removes invisible barriers to trade, enabling Ethiopian goods to meet and surpass global benchmarks. These 5 projects are more than bricks and budgets. They are the architecture of self-determination, places where policy becomes visible, where ambition becomes concrete. The Convention Center project's diplomatic confidence. Benuna village transforms barren land into a living economy, the ESX opens a financial artery, Addis Ababa Stadium reclaims a stalled dream, Quality Village safeguards the integrity of Ethiopia's exports. If you believe a nation's future is written not only in speeches but in the permanence of what it builds, then Ethiopia's opening chapter is already in place, visible, tangible, and ready for the next act. Ethiopia's second wave of mega projects is not about monuments, it's about foundations. These are the engines that feed, move, and connect a nation determined to control its own future. In the Somali region's GERD district, steel frames rise against a horizon of dust and sun. This is the Dangote Fertilizer plant, a $3 billion investment by Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote. When completed in just over 3 years, it will be the largest facility of its kind in East Africa. Its purpose is both simple and strategic, to produce millions of tons of urea and nitrogen-based fertilizers annually. Ethiopia has long relied on costly imports, leaving its farmers at the mercy of global markets and shipping delays. This plant will end that dependence, ensuring stable supply for domestic agriculture and surplus for export to neighboring countries. It will also transform GERD from a remote outpost into a new industrial hub, with jobs, infrastructure, and a steady flow of commerce. In Addis Ababa's bustling Bole-Megan-Agna corridor, the hum of progress is electric, literally. AI-powered EV charging stations, operated by Ethio Telecom, are redefining urban mobility. Each site combines 8 ultra-fast 600 kilowatts chargers with 12 high-capacity 500 kilowatts units. Enough to serve up to 32 vehicles at once. A full charge takes only 15 minutes, optimized by artificial intelligence to preserve battery health and maximize speed. The system is integrated into the Telebur Super app, allowing cashless payments and real-time monitoring. Since their launch, these stations have powered over 14,000 electric vehicles, cutting Ethiopia's carbon emissions by more than 521 tons. They are proof that clean technology can scale rapidly in Africa when paired with smart infrastructure. 200 kilometers north, in Amhara's Lamy Industrial Park, the assembly lines of the Made in Ethiopia initiative are in motion. This $52 million project by Belena Kind Group produces over 1,000 fully electric vehicles each year, including city buses and heavy cargo trucks. The plant employs roughly 1,000 workers, with roles spanning engineering, assembly, and quality control. Each vehicle represents a step away from reliance on foreign imports and a step toward a self-sustaining industrial base. The initiative also aligns with Ethiopia's green transport policy, aiming to electrify both public and private fleets over the next decade. High above the runways, Ethiopian Airlines is charting a course for dominance. Already Africa's largest and most profitable carrier, the airline recorded $5.66 billion in revenue in just the first 9 months of the 2024 to 2025 fiscal year, nearly reaching its $7 billion target. Under its ambitious Vision 2035 plan, Ethiopian Airlines will double its fleet from 138 to 271 aircraft, increase passenger capacity to 65 million annually, and expand cargo operations to handle 3 million tons per year. At the heart of this expansion is a $6 billion mega-airport in Bishoftu, designed to accommodate 100 million passengers and 270 aircraft at any given time. This will position Ethiopia as a global transit hub linking Africa, Europe, Asia, and the Americas, a role that was once the exclusive domain of airports far beyond Africa's borders. In the heart of Addis Ababa, the National Palace Museum has opened its gates to the public for the first time in its history. Originally constructed in 1955 to mark Emperor Haile Selassie's Silver Jubilee, the palace grew over decades into a symbol of imperial power and later became the official residence of Ethiopia's presidents. Following a multi-million-euro refurbishment funded by France and coordinated under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's cultural revival agenda, its halls now display treasures of Ethiopia's past, the opulent Crown Council chamber, glittering regalia, rare 16th-century maps, diplomatic gifts from across the continent, and even the emperor's vintage automobiles and private train carriage. The museum is more than a tourist attraction, it is a curated archive of Ethiopia's role in Pan-African leadership and a space where citizens can reconnect with the milestones of their nation's journey. Together, these 5 projects target the pillars of modern sovereignty: food security through industrial agriculture, clean and connected transport, domestic manufacturing, global connectivity, and cultural identity. They are designed not in isolation but as interlocking parts of a larger vision. The fertilizer plant feeds the farms, the EV stations and factories modernize transport. The airline and airport open economic corridors, the museum shapes national consciousness. The final wave of Ethiopia's transformation reaches deep into the ground, reshapes the spaces we inhabit, and commands the forces of nature itself. These projects are not only feats of engineering, they are markers of a nation's will to define its own path. In Gambela, the Akobo Sigil gold mine and the Dima processing plant have begun rewriting Ethiopia's mining narrative. High-grade ore from Sigil has already yielded significant output. And together the sites are expected to add 10 tons of gold annually, generating up to $2 billion in export revenue in 2024 alone. This surge is part of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's mining reforms aimed at raising the sector's share to 10% of GDP by 2025. Beyond gold, Ethiopia is surveying reserves of tantalum, potash, lithium, iron ore, and gemstones, moving from artisanal operations to industrial-scale, tech-driven extraction. It is a shift designed to keep value creation within national borders. Back in Addis Ababa, a different kind of resource has been reclaimed: urban space. The Bulbula to Akaki Bridge transformation turned 20 hectares of flood-prone, trash-filled land into a green corridor of landscaped parks, sports fields, and clean riversides. Spearheaded by the Bole subsidy with community participation, the project has boosted property values, reduced flooding, and become a national model for city renewal. It demonstrates that sovereignty begins not only in policy but in the streets where citizens live and breathe. Rising soon above the capital will be the Ethiopian Electric Power Headquarters Tower, set to claim the title of Africa's tallest skyscraper at 327.5 meters. Designed by Al Handasa and built to lead gold environmental standards, it will include office floors, retail spaces, sky gardens, and a rooftop restaurant. Powered by integrated solar and wind systems, the tower is both a workplace and a symbol, proof that sustainable design can define a city's skyline. Construction resumed in 2024 with completion targeted for 2027, marking Ethiopia's intent to lead in both architecture and green innovation. Far to the west, Jimma Zone is undergoing a comprehensive transformation. Roads are being widened and resurfaced, sleek pedestrian paths installed, and public squares renovated. As part of the Dine for Generation initiative, the Grand Abba Jafar Palace is being restored, blending historic preservation with modern urban planning. Road expansions like the Jimma, Chida and Mirwa Genet routes are opening the region to tourism and trade, turning Jimma into a vibrant hub of commerce and culture. Towering over all these efforts is the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD, Africa's largest hydroelectric power project and a symbol of Ethiopia's national pride. At 155 meters high and 1.7 kilometers long, with a 74 billion cubic meter reservoir, GERD will generate enough power to electrify millions of homes, drive industrial growth, and export electricity to neighboring countries. Entirely funded by Ethiopians, it stands as a statement of self-reliance in the face of external pressure. Beyond hydropower, the project is part of a broader renewable energy strategy that includes major wind farms like Adama, Ashgoda, and the massive Aisha project, together aiming for 800 megawatts from wind by 2030, as well as solar developments like the Meat-Hara plant and Scaling Solar Initiative in Afar to expand rural electrification. These final 5 projects complete Ethiopia's 15-piece mosaic of transformation. They range from mining and urban renewal to architecture, regional development, and energy independence. Each one strengthens a different artery in the nation's body, ensuring that the pulse of growth is steady and self-sustaining. If you believe the measure of a nation is in the permanence and diversity of what it builds, then Ethiopia's closing chapter in this mega-project saga leaves no doubt. The foundations have been laid, and they are built to last. For every rise, there is resistance. And as Ethiopia's cranes swing high over Addis Ababa and the AES flags wave over the Sahel, there are rooms far from Africa where lights burn late and maps are marked with quiet precision. The 15 mega-projects of Ethiopia are more than infrastructure, they are pressure points. The Grand Renaissance Dam shifts the balance of water politics. The Ethiopian Securities Exchange moves capital without foreign intermediaries. The Dangote fertilizer plant cuts import dependence across East Africa. Each one chips away at systems that have fed outside powers for decades. In the West African Sahel, the AES does the same, seizing mines from foreign contractors, redirecting military supply lines, refusing to sign the old deals. Together, Ethiopia and the AES form what some now call a sovereignty corridor, stretching from the Blue Nile to the Niger River basin. It is a corridor that terrifies those who profited from Africa's division. And so, the pressure begins. Offers of partnership that come with invisible strings. Media campaigns painting Ethiopia's growth as unstable, or the AES as reckless. Proposals for new trade routes that bypass Addis Ababa, starving its projects of regional influence. Negotiations with neighboring states designed to create mistrust over borders, rivers, and markets. Some of these moves are open, others are buried so deep in policy papers and diplomatic chatter that they seem like shadows. But history teaches us, from the Berlin Conference to the resource wars of the 20th century, that Africa's greatest projects have always drawn Africa's greatest challenges. Inside Ethiopia, there are debates. Should we align openly with the AES, risking new sanctions, or keep the partnership quiet and focus on our own build-out? Inside the AES, leaders ask the mirror question: should we invite Ethiopia into our strategic plans? Or will that only make both of us targets? And yet, in the streets of Addis and Ouagadougou, in the markets of Jimma and Bamako, ordinary people are already acting as if the choice has been made. Traders move goods along routes that connect east and west without waiting for permission. Farmers share techniques for soil recovery from Lake Basaka to the Niger River floodplains. Engineers swap notes on wind turbine maintenance between the Aisha wind farm and Sahel solar stations. The twist is this: the alliance they fear most may already exist, not signed in ink, but written in the habits and hopes of millions. And if that is true, the only question left is whether Ethiopia and the AES will recognize it before those who would break it apart do. So I ask you, if you see the line they are trying to cut, will you help draw it deeper? Will you speak, share, and stand for a map of Africa drawn by African hands? Because history will not wait for us to decide. From the turbines of the Grand Renaissance Dam to the gold dust of Gambela, from the runways of Bishoftu to the reclaimed fields of the Sahel, a new map of Africa is emerging, not one drawn in foreign capitals, but in the sweat and dreams of its people. Ethiopia's 15 mega projects are not just for Ethiopia. They are proof that an African nation can chart its own course, stand with its own, and build without bowing. In the West, the AES does the same. Together, they form a promise that the next century will belong to those who claim it. If you believe this is the Africa we deserve, do not stay silent. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Let your voice join the millions who will not wait for permission to be free. Because from Addis Ababa to Ouagadougou, from Bamako to Bishoftu, the future is calling. And it will be answered by those who dare to build it together.